Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome once again to Hang On Supi, a show powered by Scarlet and Gray Sports Radio. I'm your host, Caleb Supi Spinner, and we have joining us once again a member of the Ohio State softball team. This week, it's Kaitlyn Coffman. Kaitlyn, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I noticed the extra bit of baggage you're carrying around your arm. What's up with that?
Yeah, I had a labrum surgery a couple Thursdays ago, so I'm in the healing process right now.
Oh, we wish you a speedy recovery with that. And congratulations. We weren't able to say it because we recorded Allison's the day before you started the Michigan State series, but you won that, the final home series. Congratulations on that as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm going to get right into this because I have a lot to discuss. I have a lot of things that I want to ask you here. Let's start right off at the beginning. How and where did your softball career begin?
Oh, gosh. So I'm from a small town in Visalia, California. My dad was really pushing for me to play softball. When he was younger, like super, super young, he played baseball. And so growing up, he would always have me watch like baseball games and softball games and stuff. And so he signed me up for T-ball one year and was like, well, let's go. And he was kind of like the person that pushed me to play.
I feel like every baseball or softball career starts off at T-ball. Those Saturday games in the early in the mornings, in the company sponsored jerseys, whoever it was who was sponsoring the league. I feel like every one of the best careers starts off like that.
Oh yeah, Razorback jerseys, everything.
And also talking about your sports career in Visalia, you played water polo as well, which was something that I found was interesting. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I played water polo. So my freshman year of high school, one of my friends was the water polo coach's daughter. And he would follow me around campus and he'd be like, so when are you going to come out to water polo? When are you going to come out to water polo? And I was just like, I have no idea what water polo is. So probably never. But summer going into my sophomore year of high school, I finally gave it a chance and I absolutely fell in love with it. It was awesome. Like it was such like a dynamic sport and it gave me like a break from softball, like when I needed it. So sophomore year of high school, I started playing water polo and played it throughout my whole high school career.
How was that balancing softball and water polo, doing both at once?
Oh gosh. Well, right after water polo for us was in the fall. And so we weren't playing any team or school softball. So it was all just travel ball. So after water polo practice, I would zoom over to my travel ball practice, wet hair, everything, trying to change in the car. So it was difficult. I will say that, just managing water polo and softball and my academics and stuff, but I guess I made it work.
I guess so too. You were clearly successful in both of them. I will always think of water polo as hockey if the sticks were taken away and the rink melted. That's what I will always compare it to.
It is a good comparison.
Now, playing water polo, that's one heck of a cardio workout, not only in practice, but in the games as well, because that doesn't stop. How do you think that helped you get ready for softball?
I just think for water polo and softball, number one, they're two different types of cardios. It's I was more in shape, obviously, when I was playing water polo because I was in the pool for probably 2 to 3 hours a day, treading water for that long. And so I will say I probably wasn't the best shape of my life when I was playing water polo. But I just think it helped with toning my muscles, giving me arm strength for softball, because throwing the water polo ball is a lot more complex than throwing a softball. And so just doing that, I do think that it benefited me on the softball field.
Now, going down the road as you progress through your high school career, playing softball, playing water polo, balancing both, wet rides in the car to change, there had to come a decision, right? Because it wasn't realistic to play both in college. Where did that decision come and how did you land on softball?
So I think from the start with water polo, obviously I always knew water polo was just going to be a high school sport for me to kind of get away from all the other stressors and stuff. So I knew from the start it was going to be softball. It was just water polo was kind of my fun, sport to play in high school.
That makes sense. You got to have the balance, and with everything that you're doing, it makes sense that you'd want, work and fun. It makes sense.
Exactly.
So, at that regard, it sounds like you were focusing on softball from the get-go. So you were able to, as you were going through high school, this is why I'm a big fan of planning what you're going to do in freshman year, so you can use those 4 years to plan ahead. You were already planning to continue softball, whether or not it was college was the dream at that time. When did you realize that you wanted to play in college?
So I think from a younger age, like my dad kind of instilled in me that like I was good enough to play in college if I kept working for it. And so I knew like even before high school, like the years before high school are probably one of the most, or some of the most important years, because that's when you're finally starting to know how your body's working, like on the softball field and stuff. And so I just, from the get-go, I knew that I wanted to play in college, regardless of where it was at.
Obviously you're at Ohio State now, but was there ever, growing up, was there ever a childhood favorite? Was there ever a dream to play at X university or something?
My dad is obsessed with Arizona State. And so like he was always pushing for that, but you're always going to end up where you're meant to be. So
from where you were located in California, I almost thought for sure it'd be UCLA, but I'm surprised to hear that it was Arizona State.
Yeah, I don't know why he's so obsessed with Arizona State, but that's his like dream college for me.
Well, I'm sure he was I'm sure he was a little sad though, because Arizona State is a whole heck of a lot closer than Ohio State is. Now, what prompted you to pack your bags and move almost 2,400 miles away to the opposite side of the country?
So my batting coach back home, his daughter played here. Like, I don't know the exact years, but she played here. And so like during my recruiting process, like in like 8th grade or whatever, I had no idea what Ohio was. I had no idea where Ohio was.
You had no idea what Ohio was. It's a state.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I had no idea where it was. You never hear about like Ohio when you're in California. And so when he was talking to me through my recruiting process, he's like, you should really like check it out and like go to one of their summer camps and stuff. So it started like 8th grade. I finally knew what Ohio was. I came back here for summer camp, absolutely fell in love with it, fell in love with the program, the campus. And so from then on, I was like, yep, I'm going to Ohio State regardless.
Now, I think there's another bit. I find this fun for what our listeners will know from the Austin Pooley episode we did. I'm a big movie guy. Kevin Costner is one of the alumni of where you went to school in Mount Whitney. He is huge in Ohio as the best GM of the Browns. Now, fictional in the movie Draft Day, but that got all of us Browns fans over here excited. So, in a way, you followed Kevin.
I kind of did.
I think that's a fun tie from where you went to high school versus where the state you're living in now. Clearly, he knew where Ohio was. I almost guarantee that you didn't pick your school, though, based off of a batting coach's daughter's recommendation. So what were some of the other qualities you looked for, not just in Ohio State, but when you were tackling the question of where am I going to go to play softball in college?
Yeah, so a big thing for me was academics. Like, I really wanted somewhere where the coaches and, the program actually puts like academics first. And I know like some programs are very strict on what majors their players can choose and whatnot. And so like I knew like for a fact, like I wanted to go somewhere where the coaches were in full support of like whatever I wanted to do, and like would make sure that I get my academics taken care of, regardless of softball. And like at the end of the day, like you have 4 years to play softball, but your academics is what's going to take you, like with your future career and stuff. And so I just really wanted to make sure that like academics was a big part. I just think the culture like here is amazing. Like they say, the tradition, the people, the excellence, and like it is truly that. It's a very family oriented school. they make sure to put our families first. And it's just, I don't know. It just, as soon as I got onto campus, I fell in love with it. So
there's a feeling with Ohio State athletics, and this is something that a lot of schools around the nation have, but specifically in Columbus. Columbus is a sports town just by nature, regardless of it's the Crew, it's the Clippers, it's the Blue Jackets, even Ohio State. The community gets behind it, and that's something that you feel regardless of what sport you're playing or if you're an athlete or not.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I assume, again, these are several assumptions. I don't like to do them, but, the evidence is kind of here. Coach Kelly, I'm guessing you talked a lot with her, from what I've been able to see with my brother's own recruitment for cross country. Talking with the coaches, communication with them is huge in determining where you're going to spend the next 4 years, especially where you're going to play the next 4 years. How big of an influence was she on your decision to commit to Ohio State?
I just think with her, when people ask us to describe Coach, it's always like a mother figure because she cares so much, about us and our well-being. And so I just think knowing that and what she has told me and, the other coaches that I talked to, just the family oriented, being 2,400 miles away, I don't have my mom, just down the road that I can call. And so just knowing that I always have, mother figures in my life being the coaches, that's what pretty much sold me.
And that relationship is something you've been able to cultivate over your time at Ohio State. I think mother figure is a perfect analogy, and when you're talking about male coaches too, father figures, that's what a mentor is supposed to do. They're there for you when you need them, but nobody has pushed me harder than my parents. I'm sure it's the same with you. So having that guidance to, hey, I'm not feeling the best. Can you help me out with this? And I'm struggling in this aspect of, name your sport. What can I do to get better? That sounds like a perfect balance that you have there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, when you came to Ohio State,
mm-hmm.
you started every one of the games you played in. How big of a reassurance was that you're not going to be a freshman who sits on the bench for their first or maybe first 2 years, that you would actually have a role and you'd be able to go right in to your career there?
It was a really big reassurance, because I know coming in, a lot of people come in and are like, well, I'm a freshman, so I'm probably not going to play. And so that was always in the back of my head, but it was more so that's a slim chance for me. I'm going to push myself as hard as I can, to make sure that I am on that field, regardless of where I'm playing. I just think it was more of a confidence boost for me, because it was wow, I actually am that good to where I can, start at a big university like Ohio State and, start yeah, I just feel it was a big confidence boost for me personally.
There's a quote from Tom Brady. I don't remember the exact quote. I don't have it memorized or tattooed anywhere. But it's, I don't care where you were drafted, when you get your shot, make it count. That had to have boosted your confidence, and something that probably will accredit to the high numbers that you've had since your freshman year playing at Ohio State. But at the end of the day, you're still a freshman. This is your first experience in Ohio. You're miles and miles away from home. You relied on your teammates a lot. Who were some of those upperclassmen who took you under their wing?
I think Andrea Farah was a big person for me. She graduated last year, but she was somebody that I knew that I could always rely on. Nikki Carver, she, was a big part of developing me into being a better person, regardless, on the field or off the field. Megan McMenemy, me and her actually just recently became super close this last year, so that's awesome. But those are pretty much the upperclassmen that kind of sculpted me into becoming a better player and person.
Each providing their own little bits of influence on you to make you into the player you are. I love it.
Exactly.
Now, fast forwarding, once again, we're still focusing on that freshman year. Your first at bat. Okay, you hear the name call over the loudspeaker. You step up with the bat. You enter the box. You're ready. What's going through your head as you're about to face your first pitch in a college uniform?
Oh my gosh, I was so nervous. I stepped in the box and like I could feel like my legs shaking because it was like I've done this so many times before. Like I've hit live off of our pitcher so many times before, but just like seeing somebody else like on the mound without the same jersey as me, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just like nerve-wracking. And I just had to, I called timeout, took a deep breath, had to calm myself and just tell myself like, like I am here for a reason and that's it, like you got this, and stepped in the box and I was fine. I just had to kind of take a second to myself and calm my nerves down.
Of course, it's a little intimidating to see, a big school on the uniform, but also what goes up right here on a uniform, seeing the Big Ten logo. Big Ten is huge with sports. What's it like playing in a league where every team is a contender each and every year?
Honestly, I love it. I think it's awesome. I love, I tell people all the time, like I'm probably one of the most competitive people that you will ever meet. And so just knowing that I am playing, at one of the biggest universities in the, United States, like, and knowing that I'm up against some of the best athletes, each and every weekend, like it's awesome. And, that's being a little girl and like watching, college players and watching it on TV and stuff, it's like, oh yeah, like that'd be so awesome. But like, once you finally get here, it's like, it's unbelievable.
Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about your freshman year. We'll wrap that up. We'll talk about, your career after that point. But I want to get into Supi's speed round right now. Last week, Allison Smith was our guest on the show. We had her pick the questions that I'll ask you today because she said these are the ones that I'm going to get the best answers out of, and that's what I want in this segment. So instead of doing the time, I'll still try to keep it 45 seconds, but what I'm really going for with you specifically are the answers to these questions. So are you ready for this?
Okay.
I'll still put 45 on the timer so we can be in the ballpark in regards to the time. So I'm not giving you, 90 seconds as opposed to the 45 that people normally get. But we're going to go through these. There's 4 of them here. Are you ready?
Yep.
Alrighty. Time starts in 3, 2, 1. What is your favorite Halloween costume you've ever worn?
Probably like a football player or something when I was younger. I don't know.
I can tell by your face this is going to be a fun segment. What would you name your yacht?
Probably Willow, because I just got a new dog and her name's Willow. So we're going to go with that.
That's a good name. What gift would you buy yourself if money were no object?
Ooh. I would buy myself a all blacked out Ford Raptor.
Matte black?
No. Mm-mm.
No?
No.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second. We've still got one more here. What date would you travel back to if you had a time machine?
Oh gosh. I would travel back to my signing day for, to Ohio State just to relive that moment.
Okay. All right. Now that put us right about a little over a minute, about a minute and change. So not really too far off the 45 seconds, but we'll go back to the matte black. Why not matte? You would have gloss, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
See,
I would.
I'm sure I have people wondering right now why I'm such a big supporter of the matte black colorway when I'm trying to get a black car.
Yeah.
As you did, I grew up with the Christian Bale Batman movies. And the Batmobile's jet black matte paint job looked so cool when I was younger. So if I ever get a black car, it's going to be matte.
Okay. That's fair. But no, I definitely would get the glossy.
But why the Ford Raptor, though? I'll get into that at least. We'll get past the superficial paint color. Why the Ford Raptor?
It's awesome. Like, you see that driving down the street and you're like, dang, that's a bad car. Like...
I'm not saying it's not. I'm not judging the pick. I just want to get the why behind it.
Because it's a cool truck. And I don't know, I just like it.
That's all the reasoning you need to provide, but that was awesome. That was Supi's speed round. So getting back into your freshman year, we're almost done here, and then we'll focus on, what happened after it and some of the other things that have happened to you at Ohio State. When would you say was the time that you began to find your footing in the Big Ten and as a college softball player?
So let me think. I honestly, freshman year, obviously, yes, like I was college softball player, I was playing and stuff, but I wouldn't say until I started working like the summer camps for Ohio State, because, yeah, you put on the uniform, you go play, but not until you realize like how the younger generations and the younger girls like look at you and, like talk to you about, them wanting to play college softball. It doesn't really hit you until like you see that. And the reason I say that is because like that was you one day, like that was me when I was the same age as them, like looking up to the college softball players, like, wow, like these girls are so awesome. Like that's what I want to, do and be. But like, not until you get that same reaction from those younger girls do you actually realize like, wow, like here I am, and I am inspiring and motivating like these younger girls to play softball.
It's the realization that you are part of the culture that brought you there, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You're one of the role models. You're one of the reasons that Ohio State has that vibe on campus of being somewhere where athletics is so important, and came full circle. I think that's exciting. That's the point when the knees stopped turning to jelly when you walked into the box. Is that point?
No, they stopped turning to jelly like a couple at bats later, maybe.
And a couple at bats later into the start of the season, your success was noticed by the conference in the form of the Freshman of the Week award for the week of February 25th. What did that mean to you to earn that award and know specifically that the conference had its eyes on you?
It was awesome. Like, and the best part about it was I won that award the week before I was in California playing in front of like my friends and my family. And so I just think like going to California, playing in front of them, like I was so motivated just to like kill it and to do so good. And then, a couple days after the weekend, getting that award, I was like, wow, like I can do anything. Like I was on such a high that like, I was like, you know what, I can do this all the time. What the heck, and then obviously you get a little, humbled when you're going up
reality check.
Yeah, reality check. And you're like, well, maybe not every week.
Maybe we'll start with the week first, and then we'll move to month. But you bring up another good spot. What was that like playing in front of your family for the first time?
Oh my gosh, it was awesome. Like I hadn't played in front of them since like my last, travel ball game in high school. And like having them there and supporting me when I hadn't seen them in forever, it was awesome. And just being able to like talk to them and, go to eat afterwards with them was something that I was really looking forward to. But knowing that they were in the stands cheering me on was awesome.
One of the things I think that sets you apart from the rest of the players on your team and the rest of the players in the conference for that matter is how well you can hit the ball when you step into the box. You nailed 41 hits, 33 RBI, 22 runs, 10 homers in your freshman year. Impressive numbers for anybody, let alone somebody who lives 2,400 miles away, didn't even know what Ohio was, and is coming into this foreign state for the first time. And you added a few stolen bases to those, which are tough to get, and I want to dive into that. What do you look for when you're stealing a base? What are some of the ticks and movements from the catcher to pitcher that you look for when you're about to steal?
I mean, most of the times that I was stealing, it was because I got the steal sign from coach, obviously. But I just think like it's more of a reaction type thing. Like if that pitcher's throwing and you see like a downward trajectory on the pitch and it's going to hit the ground to probably get away from the catcher, like just take off. And it's more of like a reaction type thing, I would say.
It's a judgment call too. right?
Yeah.
Because you're saying you got to judge where it's going to go, if it's going to be a wild pitch, stuff like that. That's good. It's a lot of that speed too. The strong legs from water polo, the speed to not only take off, but to get back when you need to.
Yep.
That's something that's gotta have helped.
Yep.
Now, this is the last thing I want to get into here, but it's definitely not the least important here.
Okay.
I think you embody the definition of a student athlete, putting the student in front of that. During your stellar freshman year, so yet another thing that we have to add to this already impressive freshman year, you earned Ohio State Scholar Athlete honors. What were some of the challenges you faced balancing school and softball?
Yeah, so, coming in, obviously it's super nerve-wracking because you're now in college. Like you don't have those teachers that are going to, guide you through and, like help you like meet one-on-one every day. Like it was super stressful, and like our academic teams and our, advisors helped us out a lot. And I think like our student or our athlete academic advisor was Megan Cable freshman year, and she was very helpful. And, she helped me through planning like my tutorings and my, the study hours. And like, I was very stressed out, but once I finally got into the groove of everything, it was super easy. Like I would go to practice in the mornings and then get done around like 12, and then I'd have to go do some of my study hours, go to tutoring, and then, the rest of the day was yours to do your homework. And so I think like just having those people around and like helping was really helpful for me.
Now, all those resources are wonderful when you're home, but you don't necessarily have as much access as you have to those people when you're on the road, say, playing in front of your family for the first time back in California. What's that like, studying on the road, knowing that you have to keep up with classes, even though you're out of state in some instances?
Yeah, so when we're traveling and we're playing, Mondays are typically always our off days. And so I utilize Mondays a lot, just try to get like ahead of the week, try to get as much homework as possible done. That way, the rest of the week I can use to study, get ready, pack for the trips and stuff. But I tried to do all of my homework before the weekend so I wouldn't have to worry about it while we were playing. Because, when you're playing 3 games a weekend, like you don't really want to worry about typing a paper for theater class or, whatever it is. But I just think, utilizing like my time earlier in the week really helped me a lot.
Now, was theater class an interest to you? Side note, but I have to touch on this. Are you a theater person?
No, it was a
okay. Okay. I had to touch on it because there's not many people who would say theater class for that. And so I had to go, oh, wait a minute. I know you have them, getting back onto the studying bit. I know you have them. Who are some of your study buddies on the team?
Oh, gosh. I would probably say, like, especially when we were allowed to go into Yunkin and like study and stuff, I would definitely say like Maggie. There were a couple times where I'd sit with, Jess Ross, and we'd just sit there and do homework and whatnot. But I'd say Maggie Audie.
Is she a pretty good student in her own right? Have you bounced ideas off each other on a couple papers here and there, a couple theater papers you do together?
No, she was not in theater, but yeah, we try to help each other out when we can.
That's an exciting thing to see. That also adds to the culture. Is it, something you see with 200 and some student athletes making the scholars list and many more graduating this year. That adds to the culture of Ohio State, is that you're not just an athlete here. You are a student, and we're going to make sure that you have A, all the resources to succeed, and B, that you're keeping up a high standard of academics that we have.
Yep. Exactly.
So the last thing I'll ask you here, I'll leave you with this. We weren't really able to get an accurate judgment from Allison because she still had 4 games to play over the weekend, 3 games, the series to play against Michigan State over the weekend. Wasn't able to really focus on this because she still had those coming up. But what were some goals that you have for yourself next year?
I think right now for me personally, like obviously taking care of my shoulder, getting it, all figured out. I start rehab in 4 weeks, which is nice. So just really focusing on that, I think, and then just grinding it out. Like, obviously not being able to play softball for a little bit is really going to put a damper in my game. But I think a goal for me is just to grind it out, get back into it and put up the same power numbers that I have in the past and just go from there. And I think, being a senior, I think the goals, yes, they are more softball related, but I think a big goal for me is just to like inspire, like the younger girls that are coming in, like the freshmen this year, and just inspiring them to work hard and, let them know like it goes by fast, because like, just yesterday I was getting in the box shaking my freshman year, but now it's like I'm going to be a senior. So I just think like inspiring them to, put all effort in and just take advantage of the smaller moments.
Kaitlyn, it was a pleasure talking with you. I'm glad to know that you have at least the right color choice of dream vehicle. Maybe not the right shade, but we'll get to that later. But it was great talking with you. Wish you a speedy recovery. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you. It was nice to meet you.
Make sure you're tuning in to Hang On Supi every week. We have the podcast version of the episode that releases on Wednesday on scarletandgraysportsradio.com and the SGSR SoundCloud channel. And then the video version of the episode, for those of you who like to watch instead of listen, comes out on Friday on YouTube. Make sure you're checking out our YouTube channel, subscribing to that. The link is in our Instagram bio. Also, announcing this giveaway that we are going to be doing to get more engagement on the social media channels. I like to say that there are 3 months in summer: June, July, August. So for each of those months, we will be giving away a $50 Amazon gift card. Now, not one per month, but just 3 Amazon gift cards, $50, that will be going out to a random drawing. But there is always a twist. We are only doing this giveaway when we reach 800 followers on the Instagram channel. So once we get to 800 followers, then we'll start doing the giveaway for the $3 $50 Amazon gift cards. So make sure you're going over to Hang On Supi, following us on Instagram. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to the YouTube channel too? We put out a lot of good stuff there as well. We'll see you next week. We've got more exciting Hang On Supi coming out over the summer. But until then, I'm Caleb Spinner. That's the show. I'm out of here.